pretty crazy at the moment, so we're just going to slow down. I think we all need to just see how we're feeling. So I'd like you to come either into a seated position with your legs crossed or come onto your knees. So I know this can be slightly uncomfortable for some people, but we're not going to be here for very long. So just come into whichever position you feel comfortable with. And we're just going to pop our hands on our thighs. It's rolling the shoulders back and letting them drop down either side of the spine. Sitting nice and tall so we can breathe into the chest. And just gently closing the eyes. So we're going to keep our breath in through our nose and back out through our nose. And just drawing that breath all the way down through the chest, past the chest and into your belly. So we want to make sure we're getting some nice deep belly breaths. Just pushing that breath down through the body as we exhale through the nose. And just coming into a place of calm. Just thinking about our facial muscles as well. So just giving your jaw a little wiggle and just release any tension you might be holding in your temples. Just let your tongue fully relax in your mouth. Let your eyes soften and your eyelids relax. Just paying attention to your forehead as well. We don't want to be holding anything around the brow area. Just feeling the chest and the stomach rise and fall. Just going to gently flicker the eyes back open, just come back into the room. We're just going to move onto our hands and our knees, so whichever position you started in, just make your way onto your hands and your knees. So your fingers want to be spread nice and wide and hands under your shoulders, shoulder width apart, and your knees hip width apart. We're going to inhale, we're going to drop the head, tuck the tailbone under and start to arch the back, so pushing the spine up to the ceiling. Exhale, just let the chest fall to the floor and send the shoulder blades down the back. Inhale, arch. Exhale, soften. Just getting the spine moving. Trying to keep the arms nice and straight. And just let the head fully relax. And just gently lifting it. Gear coming back to neutral. We're going to look over the left shoulder towards the feet, keeping everything else still. And back to the middle. Over to the right. And back to the middle. Working the breath into the movement. Breathing in as you come back to the middle. Exhaling as you look over the shoulder. We're going to start to wiggle the feet into view now. It's just moving the spine side to side. One more each side. And back to the middle. We're going to take the left foot and bring it in between the hands. So we're going to come into a low lunge position. Coming upright. We want a nice 90-degree angle in that front leg. And we're not going to lean forward too much. We're going to keep up nice and straight. So think about tucking your tailbone or your coccyx, the bottom of your spine, under. So really tilting the pelvis. And that's going to increase the stretch in your right quad and your hip flexor. So we can take the left hand on the thigh, just gently pressing some tension in there, just so we can resist and stop that pelvis tilting. If you have particularly tight hip flexors or hips, it may be a little bit uncomfortable. We're just going to breathe through it. So through every stretch that we do, just really think about the rhythm of your breath. You might notice it change. We want to welcome the breath to, release those muscles. One more breath. Keeping your legs where they are, you're going to take your right hand and place it on the outside of your left leg. So the back of your hand is against your outer thigh. So we can add a little twist. We're going to bring the left arm around to the right hip so we can roll that left shoulder back. Just opening up that shoulder and the chest. Nice deep breaths. Your next exhale, gently release that left arm. Come back round to the front, and we're just going to transition legs. We're going to step the left leg back and step the right leg forward. Coming up into your low lunge. Again, tilting the pelvis forward. Right hand on the right leg. You might be a little tighter this side. You might find it a little bit easier. Keeping nice and tall with the breaths. One more breath. So we can take the left hand this side to the outside of the right leg, so we can resist that leg and get a little bit of a twist, and bringing the right arm round to the left hip, rolling back that right shoulder. Breathing deeply. Gently releasing that right arm. Bringing the hands either side of the foot at the front. We're going to tuck under the toes at the back so we can lift that leg. And we're just going to step the right leg back, coming into a high plank position. So our hands want to be spread, our fingers are spread nice and wide. Hands are under our shoulders. Drawing the belly in, so nice strong core. And just pushing the heels away from you. Just starting to fire up the shoulders. One more breath. We're going to step the left leg to the outside of the left hand. So it's at a slight angle here. We're going to drop the back knee. The left toe should be pointing up towards the left hand side of your mat, the top corner. So dropping the back knee, just opening up the hips a little bit more here. And what we're going to do is we're going to roll onto the outside of the left foot. So just allowing the knee to just drop out. Just opening that hip a little bit more. You can untuck your back toes if you find that more comfortable. You might just find it a little bit more stable with them tucked under. So every time you exhale, think about that knee just falling down towards the floor. One more breath. Just rolling that left foot back so it's flat on the ground. We're going to take the left hand and place it on the left thigh, and we're going to gently push into the thigh so we can twist the body and look behind the shoulders. Keeping that left shoulder rolled back. Just gently releasing and coming back to the front. So placing both hands on the floor. If they're not already, tuck the back toes under so we can lift that leg. We're going to step the left leg back into high plank and then bring the right leg out to the right hand side of the mat. So pointing up towards the top right hand corner. And just letting the foot roll onto the outside. Not forcing it, just let it naturally go to where it wants to be. You might feel your outer hip start to release. Just working on that breath. Every time you exhale, just let that knee fall a little bit closer to the floor. One more breath. Just rolling that foot back up. So it's nice and flat and stable, and then taking the right hand onto the right thigh, gently pressing into the thigh so we can turn. Just gently releasing that right hand, coming back to the front. So we're tucking the back toes under, lifting that leg. We're going to step the right leg back and we're going to make our way into downward dog. So when you're in downward dog, your fingers want to stay nice and spread. Really pushing your palms into the mat and the floor beneath you. Your hips ascending up to the sky and back. You might not be able to get your heels down to the floor, that's fine. We're just going to ease into this pose, so just gently walking through the feet. You might want to wiggle the hips side to side. Let the head shake and relax. And just think about pushing your chest towards your thighs. I'm just going to take 2 deep breaths here. Just bringing some movement now into the body. So we're going to come up onto our tiptoes and then we're going to start to unravel through the spine, coming into a high plank position. We're going to either drop to the knees or you're going to lower to the mat so that we can just relax here. And I want you to think about pressing your hands into the mat and just coming into an upward dog. We'll start to speed up the transition in a moment. So tucking the toes under, lifting the hips, coming back to downward dog. Inhale, roll through the spine. Keep your arms straight this time and just gently drop the hips, untucking the toes, and let the shoulder blades fall down the back. Tuck the toes under, hips up, downward dog. We're going to do 2 more. So inhale, roll through the spine. Exhale, drop the hips. Inhale, tuck the toes under, lift the hips. Exhale, push back to downward dog. 1 more. Inhale, roll through the spine. Nice and strong. Exhale, drop the hips. Inhale, lift. Exhale, downward dog. I'm just going to drop to our knees and come down into child's pose. So your bottom wants to be as close to the heels of your feet as possible, and let your arms come overhead and your head completely relax onto the mat. So we're not trying to force anything in this position. This is just our recovery position. feel like your arms need a bit more of a rest, you can take them either side of your body and just let your shoulders fall down to the floor. Taking the arms up overhead if they're not already, staying down in child's pose. We're going to keep our bottom half of our body where it is, but we're going to walk the hands over to the left hand side as far as we can, keeping the head on the mat. We're just opening up the right hand side of the body now. Just really breathing into that right hand side. Cracking open that side, all those muscles between the rib cage. Just walking your hands back to the middle, and then we're going to go over to the right hand side. Just breathing nice and deeply. And moving back to the middle. And just slowly lifting your head and coming out of child's pose. In your own time, we're just going to make our way back to downward dog. So we're going to start our flow and we're going to layer up the options. See what everybody fancies today. So nice and strong in downward dog now. It's pushing the chest back towards the thighs, letting the head hang. So we're just going to work through a vinyasa flow. So we're going to inhale, lift the left leg up into three-legged dog. Exhale, bring it down. Inhale, roll through the spine as we did before. Exhale, either drop to your knees or lower down onto the mat. Inhale, rocking the weight forward, lifting up into upward dog. Exhale, tuck the toes under, hips go up, downward dog. Inhale, lift the right leg this time. Exhale, bring it down. Inhale, roll through the spine, coming into high plank. Exhale, if you want to drop to your knees, that's completely fine, lowering down to the mat. Inhale, lift, relaxing the shoulders. Exhale, tuck the toes under and coming back. One more breath. Okay, so your option now is to inhale, lift the left leg into three-legged dog. You can take it back down to downward dog, or we're going to bend that top leg. If you're back in downward dog, we're going to roll through the spine. If you're still in three-legged dog, we're going to roll through the spine. One leg in the air. Keep that leg up nice and high. Drop to the knee this time. Slowly lower down and let the leg follow. Inhale, lift. Exhale, downward dog. Same again on the right side. Inhale, lift. Exhale, bend that knee or bring it back to a downward dog. Inhale, roll through the spine. So keep that right leg up, keep that glute activated. Exhale, see if you can lower down. Let the leg follow. Inhale, lift. Exhale, coming back. Drop to your knees now. Come down into child's pose just to rest. We're going to take the hands at either side of the body. And just completely relax, completely fold over. You can wiggle the fingers around. Might release a lot of tension in your hands. Do what you need to do to feel comfortable. Just gently bringing the arms up either side of the body. We're going to push back into downward dog. We're going to adapt the flow, so it's not going to be so strong this time. We're going to add a long held stretch in there. You've done the powerful bit, so well done. So tucking the toes under, come back to downward dog. Inhale, lift the left leg. I'm going to do it on the right just so you can see what I'm doing. Exhale, bend the knee and bring it forward and drop your foot towards your right hand so that you can come down into pigeon. So I'm doing it on the opposite side just so you can see. Your leg might naturally go back down if you've got tighter hips, that's completely fine. Think about wiggling your back leg away from you, and we're just going to gently fold over that front leg. Just relaxing the neck. You're going to feel some tightness on the outside of your hip, and that's normal. I just want you to send your breath there. Some nice deep breaths. Just really releasing any tension that you're holding in your hips. If you want to increase the stretch, we can walk the hands out even further. So they come out straight and then relax the head onto the mat. Couple more breaths. Just gently lifting the head if you're on the floor, and just slowly walking the hands back. So we're going to tuck the back toes under so we can lift that leg, free up the front leg and step it back into downward dog. And just wiggling the hips side to side. You might want to bend your knees. Just bring some movement back into the lower body. And we're going to repeat on the other side. So you're going to lift your right leg this time. Inhale, lift. Exhale, bend that knee, bring it forward, and then place the foot down by your left hand. So wiggling that back leg away from you. So we're opening up the hips and then folding forwards down into pigeon. So you might feel tighter one side more than the other. Again, that's normal. Just sending the breath to that area. And if you want to walk the arms out, you can. One more breath. Just gently walking the hands back towards the body. Tucking the back toes under so we can lift the leg, and then stepping back into downward dog. We're going to do one last vinyasa flow just to finish off. So inhale, roll through the spine. Nice and strong this time. Exhale, lower. Inhale, rock the weight forward, upward dog. Exhale, tuck the toes under, come back to downward dog. And just bending the knees and looking to the top of the mat. You're either going to hop or we're going to step to our hands and then come down into a seated position. So this is the nice bit. Just going to wrap the arms around the knees and give ourselves a big hug. And do one last bit of strengthening before we go into relaxation. So, regulars, you're probably going to know this drill. We're going to come up into boat pose. So, you want to have your feet together, lift your legs up, hands either side. So your knees are bent, and we're going to do nice, slow toe taps down to the floor and come back up. So that's 1, 2, try not to hold your breath. 3, keep that chest nice and proud. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2 more, 9, 10. Come back to boat pose. We're going to lean back and come back up. See if you can go a little bit lower and back up. We're going to do one more. Go as low as you can. So extend those legs, come back up, and now we're going to lower all the way down to the floor. So nice and slow, extend, hollow the body, and relax. Well done. It's just bending the knees and just having your feet hip width, not hip width apart, mat width apart, let's say. Hands on the floor, and we're just going to let the knees fall either side. Just let the body soften now. And bring the knees back to the middle. And just lifting them up so you can give them a big hug. We're just going to separate the knees and take hold of the outside of each foot. So pushing the heels up towards the floor. We're just going to come into a happy baby. So bend the elbows and think about pulling your knees towards your armpits. Looks hilarious, I know, but actually feels really good. You just gently rock side to side. Just massaging your lower back into the mat now. And giving those hamstrings a stretch. If you can't quite feel them, keep pushing your heels up. And just gently bringing the feet back down onto the mat. So we're going to move into our relaxation part now. So you can either have your knees bent, you can take them down onto the mat, or you can bring the bottoms of your feet together. Completely up to you, whatever you feel like doing. Your hands are going to fall either side of your body, palms facing up. And if they're not already, you're just going to gently close your eyes. So just going back to that breathing technique we started with. Just keeping the breath in through the nose. Filling the chest and also filling the stomach. Exhaling back out through the nose. Just pushing that breath down through the body. So noticing how the belly and the chest expand, particularly the belly. We hold a lot of tension there. It's really important to keep that belly expanding and softening. And just checking in with your body. So going back to our facial muscles, our brows, temples, jaw. Just letting go of any tension we might be holding there. Just working our way down to our neck and our shoulders. Just feeling the shoulders fall either side of the body onto the mat. Noticing how they soften into the mat a bit more every time we exhale. Just keeping our fingers and our toes nice and soft. If your legs are out on the mat in front of you, just letting go of any clenching around the knees. You might want to add a little bend into the knees just to make sure your hips are happy. Just working our way all the way down to the feet. Just pushing the breath down through the body and down into the floor beneath us, giving us a sense of grounding. If you feel distracted, you can just take your attention back to your breath. But I'd also like you to just notice that underlying feeling that you might have. We're not trying to change it, we're just acknowledging it. It's a time where there's a real mix of emotions and everything's up in the air at the moment. If you could pinpoint one feeling to this moment, just have a think about what it would be. I'm just going to bring some awareness back into the body now. Just going to gently wiggle the toes and the fingers, circling the wrists and the ankles, making sure you change direction. And whichever position you were laid down in, you're just going to slowly come to bring your knees towards your chest, just to give them a big hug. And keeping your eyes closed, you're just going to roll over onto your side. It doesn't matter which side. And we're just going to settle there for a moment. Gently working your way up, back into a seated position. And just sitting nice and tall. In your own time, you can just gently open your eyes and come back into your room. Thank you for flowing with me. I hope everything went well and you could hear me. I'll stay online for a few minutes. Just let me know how you got on. And make sure you come back on Friday for another one at 7 o'clock.